given that you haven't passed the third rak'ah, and you pray as if you were praying Salat al-Subh. You finish, then you can pray Salat al-Dhuhr. The second essential part of Salat is Takbiratul Ihram, to say Allahu Akbar. So what you do is you stand in front of the Qibla, you take your hands. I've seen a lot of people put their thumbs behind their earlobes. None of that is needed. It's mustahab that you have your palms face the Qibla and you say Allahu Akbar. It's also mustahab to say it 7 times. The reason is that the Prophet ﷺ was teaching Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein how to pray. The hadith says, I think it's from Imam al-Sadiq, he says that you have to teach your kids how to pray at the age of 7. But we teach our kids to pray, I forget, either from the age of 4 or the age of 5. So possibly the Imams couldn't pronounce the letters correctly. So the Prophet told them to say Allahu Akbar. They said it incorrectly, then a second time, a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. On the 7th time, they got it right. There it became mustahab to say it 7 times. So what you do is you stand in front of the Qibla, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The 7th time is the real time. So it's the one that makes you enter Salat, Allahu Akbar. Then you begin to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. The third essential part of Salat is that you have to stand upright before going into ruku'. So let's say someone was sitting, someone said Allahu Akbar, they sat down on a chair for some reason, and of course this isn't the case if someone can and has the ability to stand up straight. So they said Allahu Akbar, they sat down on a chair, then from the chair they immediately went into a state of ruku'. This makes your salat invalid, batil. You need to stand upright, even for a moment, then go into ruku'. This is the third essential part of salat, al-qiyam al-muttasil bil-ruku'. The fourth essential part of salat is ruku' itself. There are a lot of details in ruku'. Some of them are mustahab. However, the ones that I thought were necessary, I'm going to mention right now. You need to stand still, then you go into ruku'. You must be still while you recite the dhikr. So you can't say Subhana Rabbiyal and then go into ruku' and then get up before you finish. You need to go into ruku'. You either say, as a precaution, you either need to say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdih once, or say Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Then you get up from ruku'. So if you add an extra ruku' in your salat, except for one instance which I'm not going to mention, your salat becomes invalid. The fifth essential part of salat are the 2 sujoods. Now, you'll notice that I didn't say that the sujood is an essential part of salat, because 2 of them together make one essential part. So if you forget and you add an extra sujood, so you do 3 sujood at once, your salat is not invalid, it's still valid. But if you do 2 and 2, so 4 altogether, it becomes batil. And the same thing applies there as well. You need to go into sujood first, then you recite the dhikr. Now, one thing to keep in mind about sujood is that you need to have 7 places of your body on the ground. There it becomes sujood. You need to have your forehead on what is correct to pray on, so a turba or a piece of wood or what have you. And you need to have your palms on your ground as well, and your knees and your toes, or the first toe that hits the ground. This concludes the 5 arkan, the 5 essential parts of salat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There is a beautiful hadith. The hadith is narrated by someone by the name of Sayyid Abdul-Azim Al-Hassani. Some of you might have heard of his name, some of you might have visited his mausoleum. It's in Tehran. Now, most people Zada. The reason why we visit him is because he was a great scholar and he was a great narrator of hadith. And in fact, it came at a time when, of course, the companions around the Imams were very outnumbered. There were very little of them. And the descendants of Imam al-Hasan specifically, they were, or a lot of them were against the Ahlul Bayt. They had turned against the Imams. So it was odd to see someone like Sayyid Al-Adham reach his status. He became a great scholar and a narrator of hadith. So he narrates a hadith. By the way, one thing that I'd like to mention about Sayyid Al-Adham, it doesn't have anything to do with our topic tonight, but I thought I'd mention it anyways. In one hadith, he goes to the Imam and he says, I want to present to you my beliefs. And this is where we deduce our lesson. It's very important, brothers and sisters, if you don't know how to pray, or if you're unsure whether or not you pray correctly, go to a scholar, pray in front of them, and ask them to correct your prayer. This is very good, it's useful, and there's no shame in doing it. There was a lady a few years ago, she came up and said that I had been praying for 40 years without saying Takbiratul Ihram. So now she'll have to repeat all of her prayers for 40 years. Even though it would have been very simple if she had just gone to a scholar and asked whether or not Takbiratul Ihram is a necessary part of Salat. So if you're having doubts, or even if you're not even having doubts, go to your scholar and present your religion, present your beliefs, present your a'mal, see if what you're doing is correct or not. This is very useful. And in fact, scholars from the past used to do this. One of the scholars, his name was Ayatollah Al-Udma, Al-Shaykh Taha Najaf. He was one of our greatest scholars in Najaf. For 30 or 40 years, he would go to, it's a long story, he used to go to the shrine of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he would ask the Imam to let him know whether or not he is on the right path. Day in and day out, he'd ask. He was a blind person. And then at some point, he went to the Imam and he said, it's been 30, 40 years that I've been asking for this one thing every single day, and you still haven't given it to me. That night, he sees Amir al-Mu'mineen in his dream. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, why aren't you asking Imam Zaman? Yes, I am one of your Imams, but Imam Zaman is the time of your time. Is the Imam of your time. So he asks Imam Zaman, and either on the same day or after 3 days, the Imam comes to him. First, he didn't recognize him. Then the Imam, again, it's a long story, he patted him on his shoulder. He said, you're okay, you have nothing to worry about. So this is something that we could learn from. Anyway, so this scholar, Sayyid Abdul Azim al-Hassani, narrates a hadith from Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. The Imam says that after Nuh prayed and asked Allah to let the rivers and the seas flow and create the flood, Shaitan came to Nuh. And he said to him, you have done me a great favor, so I will repay you back. Ask me anything and I will answer you truthfully. Nuh first told him to get lost. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. He said, he didn't say anything, excuse me. The hadith says that he felt that it was a sin to speak to Shaitan and to ask him for things. And again, here we can deduce another lesson. We are Muslims, brothers and sisters. Don't go looking for knowledge between Buddhism and Hinduism. That's not where you find knowledge. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Kumail, Ya Kumail, La ta'khudh illa anna takun minna. Whenever you don't take knowledge from here and there, whenever you don't go looking into Greek philosophy to look for words of wisdom, you go to Imam al-Zaman and you go to the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that's when you become one of them. That's when you become a true Shia. So this teaches us something, that we shouldn't go knocking on other people's doors. Yes, Buddhists can do these weird gimmicks and it's nice, But that's not where you get knowledge from. That's not where you get wisdom from. You go to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Anyway, first Nuh feels like it's a sin to ask him. Then Allah tells Nuh, He says, you know what? Ask him. Because whatever he says, I am going to use that as a smoking gun, as a proof and as evidence against him on the day of judgment, that he truly misled the people. So Nuh goes to Iblis. He says, give me all the juicy details. Talk. Iblis says, whenever we find one of these qualities in a person, the way he says it is kind of odd. He says, whenever we find one of these qualities in a person, تَلَقَّفْنَاهُ تَلَقُّفَ الْكُرَةِ. Whenever we find one of these qualities in a person, that person, we play around with him like a ball. Iraqis say, نِلْعَبْ بِلَعِبْ. He says, it's basically what he's trying to say is he's under our wing. We control him. فقال إبليس إذا وجدنا ابن آدم شحيحا. If there is a person or one of the qualities that he looks for in people is stinginess. People that don't give, people who are not generous. And this is an important thing. The hadith says, لا يدخل الجنة بخيل. A stingy person does not enter heaven. It doesn't matter if they're good people, if they're believing, if they don't live by high moral characteristics, then they're not going to heaven. وَلَا يَدْخُلُ النَّارَ كَرِيم. This is even more odd. That generous people do not go to hell. And you all know the story about the Prophet ﷺ when there were three operatives that came from the other side in the middle of the war, and they were out to kill the Prophet. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he went and he caught them, he brought them back as captives. And of course, we all know this, even in modern law, these people are killed. It's in the middle of the war. They have the intent to kill, it's in the middle of the war, they're operatives. Anyway, so Amir al-Mu'mineen takes them, they're about to execute them, suddenly Jibreel comes. He says, don't kill this person. He's a generous person. The person was in awe of the religion of Islam. He became a Muslim. And if I want to mention the stories, they really, I would take at least an hour of your time about generosity and how important it is in Islam. But that's one thing that Iblis looks for, stinginess. Then he says, أو حريصا, a type of person that doesn't have a red line. He doesn't care how he gets his money. He doesn't care how he amasses all of his wealth. The only thing he cares about is about having more and more and more money. You have $1 billion, $3-4 billion. Take an early retirement, go back home, and just relax. No. He'll steal people. He'll lie to people. He'll nominate himself for president just to get more money. Then Iblis says, أو حسودا, or if someone is envious. Now, there's a thing that I want to mention about this. I'll leave it for last. Envy drags you to places that are unspeakable. It starts out with someone you see, on Instagram that has a nice car, and you wish, this is what envy means, you wish that God takes away his blessing. Whether or not he gives it to you is not important, but you wish that Allah take that blessing from him. And it drags you to a point that you would be envious towards your friends, your relatives, your brothers, your sisters, even your parents. The verse in the Quran says, لولا أنك دخلت جنتك فقلت ما شاء الله. Say ما شاء الله. Or the other hadith says, whenever you see something that you like, if you see a nice and shiny metallic car, you see a big house, say أسأل الله من فضله. Why would you want to have bad intentions for people? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you, that's fine. This is called ghibta. But why would you ask Allah to take away blessings from other people? أو جبارا. If we see people that want to be tyrants, again, this is where you'll see that people have no red lines. He's willing to do anything to get the top job. The story about Umar ibn Sa'd, or even in this day and age, you see that these monarchs, they have the most amount of money in the country. All the land belongs to them. They get a part of your taxes, but even with all of this, they can't stand a person that says something on Twitter. They can't stand one person that asks for their own rights. They'll have them either executed or at least living in prison. أو جبارا أو عجولا. If a person doesn't have patience. Now, the best example I can think of are babies. Small kids, they don't have patience either. You've seen them. How when they want something, they want it immediately. What this does is it puts them in danger. That's why a kid, when he's walking back from school in kindergarten or what have you, they can't wait to get home to take the lollipop from the candy drawer. What happens is they listen to the guy, the weird guy that is promising to give them a lollipop on the side of the road. This puts us in danger. Not having patience puts us in danger. What happened to Umar ibn Sa'd? What did he do to his own cousin? All because he didn't have patience. He wanted the governorship of Ray immediately. This is what it happened. This is what it dragged him to. Then Iblis says something interesting. He says, if any of these characteristics were found in a person, تلقفناه تلقف الكرة. We play around with him like a ball. This is where we infiltrate his servers. We abuse these characteristics in him. فإن اجتمعت لنا هذه الأخلاق. Now, if you find a person that has all of these 5 qualities, سميناه شيطانا مريدا. Whenever we find these qualities, that person is from us, he's just like us. He is Iblis, he is a shaitan. Then Nuh says, okay, so that's a great word of advice, but what's the favor, the great favor that you said I had over you? He said, when you prayed that Allah bring the great flood and kill everyone, this really gave me a break. I mean, I had to spend time, and I had to take each and every single person and mislead them. Now I could just sit down and sip on my coffee and wait for the next generation to come. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention is some people may think that, you know what, these qualities occur naturally. I can't stop it if I feel like I don't want this person to have this blessing, or if I have the tendency to become a tyrant. So what do? Well, the hadith says, إن لم تكن حليما فتحلم. If you aren't a patient person, try to act like patient people. There's no harm in that. And prayer, dua. You have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to never put you in their position. Never be in a position of power, because the risks there are much, much higher. So inshallah.